An airline officially enters a new era after a turbulent few years with lots of exciting prospects on the cards, and big aircraft delivery delays are the focus points for today's recap. Let's begin with those aircraft delivery delays. Malaysia Airlines, you may recall, recently announced plans to cut its flying schedule, this for at least the remainder of 2024, citing a lack of reliability of its fleet to really operate as intended. Further details have now emerged about the actual struggles concerning taking on new planes and also the capacity that has been slushed across their network. Malaysia Airlines will cut around 20% of its total capacity through to December of this year as aircraft are delayed, and on top of that, the company faces issues in maintaining its current fleet. As part of efforts to maintain the active fleet, the company needs to ensure that it has spare parts available, which is a lot more difficult than you may imagine, with supply chain difficulties having led to a monumental part shortage that isn't just isolated to Malaysia Airlines or one specific part, say. It is a matter that is widespread. There are wide-body aircraft also reportedly grounded, with 3 units from the A330 upwards to the A350. These aircraft, typically being instrumental in their long-haul flying, simply now can't get airborne and are obviously having a negative effect. Spare part delays are the direct catalyst for why these planes aren't being cleared to get back in the skies in a safe manner. And these problems extend to the much smaller Boeing 737, which is also pivotal for short-haul flying. With an intent to receive almost 20 aircraft across 2024, that would not only enable future growth, but also allow for the replacement of aging types. That figure is expected to be a lot worse off, with just 4 delivered Boeing 737 MAX jets as stated by the airline. The substantial difference between expectation and what has actually been realised is huge, and the airline has therefore been forced to take a step back and make sure that the schedule it can offer is as optimal and reliable for its customers, this needing to really be the priority. In recent weeks, cancellations spurred on by those complexities mentioned have led to business-wide frustrations from internal parties and those that rely on the airline to help them get to their destination, this being the customers. Ultimately, Malaysia Airlines knows just how difficult the capacity reduction will be from the standpoint of disappointing its customer base, but it knows it has to be an essential move. There's absolutely no point continuing to operate a network that isn't sustainable and then have knock-on effects that leads to cancellations, even more disappointed people, and pretty much turmoil at airports around its network. When considering there will be reductions in the total deliveries of, say, even the upcoming A330neo, this a new fleet type, it really hits home of just what they're facing. There is great uncertainty about when supply chain issues will stabilise and when the ability to source spare parts to maintain currently active fleet will be restored. And I know I've sounded like a broken record over, say, the last 18 months, but the reality is it is one of those challenges that is hitting our industry and hitting it hard. And while I certainly don't like talking about these things, it is still nice to have these airlines come out and state exactly what they're going through and the changes that are required. In the case of Malaysia Airlines, better that they actually openly say they will be cutting back their schedule than, as I touched on, continuing with a portfolio that just makes no sense and is not attainable. Malaysia Airlines says they will continue watching the industry's movements, and if the worst case scenario presents itself, will be forced to adjust expectations concerning capacity in 2025. But with very clear growth plans that have already been outlined, you know the airline will very much be hoping that 2025 is smoother for them to really achieve what they want to. And for an airline that has been through a lot, there is light truly at the end of the tunnel. And yes, that is Scandinavian Airlines, or more simply SAS, as they enter a new era. The airline has announced the successful completion of its restructuring, which led to the emergence of Chapter 11 in the US, essentially bankruptcy protection. This restructuring was part of efforts to stabilise the business in any means possible, with a greater emphasis on key factors such as sustainability, profitability, and other avenues. Now, SAS will emerge genuinely into that new era, with a greater focus on being competitive, and more importantly, wherever possible, financially robust, which would hopefully limit therefore its risk of collapsing later down the line, as highlighted by SAS Forward, an initiative you may have heard of a few more times than one. This plan is part of endeavours launched by management to tirelessly work to implement cost-cutting measures over a multi-year period. SAS Forward was unveiled now some time ago, time truly flying, and was a comprehensive answer to the business's turnaround plan from a financial standpoint. As part of this plan, great focus was put on the route network and fleet, with only profitable routes to stay and a reduction in aircraft where required to obviously match that reduction in flying. Much change was also made to how the aircraft that remained were to be operated, to basically ensure that the assets that were being kept around were being utilised in the best manner possible. Building a sustainable future economically and from a day-to-day operation perspective was essential for SAS to survive and actually have a long-term success plan. More than $2 billion of debt has been restructured in recent years, and many other elements of the business has seen widespread change to ensure longevity. These other changes have included costs, agreements with suppliers, and yes, the adjustment of future fleet alongside its current aircraft that would typically be quite costly. SAS knows it has a place within the industry, but it is also aware that the location in which it calls home, let's just extend that to broader Europe, is highly competitive and will take no prisoners. Therefore, they know they need to be incredibly competitive. They need to fly desirable aircraft with a desirable cabin product and into markets that are going to be genuinely successful for them. Looking ahead, there are many positives. They enjoyed one of their more profitable months recently and have also seen quite steady increases in overall demand, equating to 6.5% annually. That'll conclude today's aviation recap. Any thoughts? You know the best place to leave them is down below in the comments. Thank you very much for your support. Take care, be safe, and I'll see you next time.